In 1997, a book would come across the desk of Disney Publishing. Seeking a North American publisher, Disney would deem this book too British for American children. That book would go on to become the 8th highest grossing media franchise of all time, a story known as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. A story that would change the theme park industry forever, and one that Disney would have 4 attempts at acquiring for themselves in the future. No one knows the full impact that the Wizarding World of Harry Potter had on the entire theme park industry. It changed everything. It put Universal side by side with Disney, but a few years earlier, Disney was one check away from having this all to themselves. But our story doesn't start here. It starts, in all places, on the Gold Coast, Australia. In June of 1991, Warner Brothers Movie World opened to the public. It was a joint venture between Warner and Pivot Leisure, who were part owners of the nearby SeaWorld. Of all people, the park was designed by C.V. Wood, the chief developer of Disneyland before an infamous falling out with Walt Disney. To design Movie World, Wood took inspiration from Universal Studios and Disney MGM. Today, Movie World is known for its thrilling rides and roller coasters, but in 1991, it opened with an array of attractions designed to educate guests about the processes behind filmmaking. The park marketed itself with the appropriate slogan, Hollywood on the Gold Coast. Over the next decade, Movie World would continue to grow with a myriad of new attractions, many of which were thrill rides. This included the anticipated Batman Adventure, The Ride, a multi-million-dollar simulator attraction, and Australia's first inverted roller coaster based on the film Lethal Weapon. Boxing Day was a popular time for the park to launch these new attractions. It was unofficially recognised as the first day of the Australian summer holidays, and 2001 was no exception. 2 new and highly anticipated attractions opened their doors. The first was Batman Adventure, The Ride 2, a refurbishment of the original popular attraction. The second was a completely new experience. They named it the Harry Potter Movie Magic Experience. A month earlier, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone took the world by storm. The anticipated film was an overwhelming success. It earned favourable reviews and over $1 billion at the box office. With the film being fresh on the public's mind, guests flocked to Movie World to experience the Wizarding World for themselves. The attraction contained a full, though slightly smaller scaled, recreation of Diagon Alley, and several sets including Harry's dormitory from the film. It also contained the art of sending an owl post, which featured a real-life owl display. All throughout the attraction, guests encountered costume witches and wizards, and of course, it all concluded with a Harry Potter gift shop. At a cost of $2 million, the attraction was a success. The following year, it received an update with the release of the second Harry Potter film, The Chamber of Secrets. This updated exhibit would include film set pieces such as the flying car, alongside creatures from the Forbidden Forest. Though it was all relatively short-lived. In September of 2003, the Harry Potter Movie Magic Experience closed to become the official Matrix exhibit. But the prospects of another Harry Potter attraction were looming. Missing out on the North American book distribution rights to Harry Potter proved to be a rather expensive mistake for Disney. A mistake they would not make once, not twice, but 3 more times with the Harry Potter franchise. In the late 1990s, movie studios were bidding on the film rights to the Harry Potter book series. When it once again came across Disney's desk, all they saw were red flags. J.K. Rowling demanded an all-British cast and crew. She insisted on complete control of the characters and story, and worst of all, it broke the first rule of filmmaking: never work with children. Disney did put in an offer, but it was a lowball. They assumed that no other studio would want to work around these restrictions, and that this ingenious offer would give them the rights at a bargain basement price. This plan blew up in their faces. Warner Brothers purchased the rights to the IP, and it would become their highest-grossing film franchise of all time, third only behind Marvel and Star Wars. Disney, obviously, weren't happy. They would try yet again to get their hands on Harry Potter, by this time trying to straight up purchase the Scholastic Publishing Company, which had the North American book rights, though the price proved too expensive for the Disney board. Disney had fumbled the Harry Potter franchise 3 separate times. Surely, when approached with the exclusive chance to build theme park attractions based on the Wizarding World, they wouldn't make that mistake again. Right? In 2001, Disney first approached J.K. Rowling and Co. about building a Potter ride. At the time, Warner Brothers was working on the previously mentioned walkthrough experience. This attraction proved popular, but was not all that profitable, and never expanded outside the singular offering in Australia. By 2003, Warner Brothers had given up on the attraction. They allowed Team Potter to sign a letter of intent with Disney to construct theme park offerings around the Harry Potter IP. It seemed logical Disney would want to construct rides based on this magical franchise. But they also had other intentions. Eisner wanted to go ahead with the Potter plans in an attempt to distract Wall Street. At that time, Eisner and Steve Jobs were butting heads, and Disney was about to lose their exclusive partnership with Pixar. Harry Potter provided enough smoke and mirrors for Disney to say, we don't need Pixar, we have Harry Potter. The first pitch from Imagineers was small. It was a mini-land within Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom and would have contained 2 attractions. One was a one-shooter ride, similar to Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, where you would cast spells with a wand in a Defense Against the Dark Arts lesson. The other was a magical creatures petting zoo. This mini-land would round out with a food stand called the Leaky Cauldron, selling all manner of generic theme park foods and Coke products. J.K. Rowling hated these plans. She demanded that the Leaky Cauldron be a fully fledged dining location. Out the back would be a brick wall opening up a portal that leads guests into Hogsmeade. There, the shooter ride would take place inside a facade of Hogwarts Castle. She also didn't want any Coke products sold anywhere within. For the next 18 months, Disney and Rowling would go back and forth. Her demands continued to grow greater as Disney's reluctance to give in to those demands did as well. Disney would even at one point pitch a ride where guests would sit in a spinning sorting hats a la the teacups, and that ride's name? The Dumbo Door. Realizing that things weren't going too well on the Disney front, Warner Brothers set up a secret meeting between Rowling and Universal Creative to see what they had to offer. Universal were made aware of the butting of heads happening with Imagineering and how they wouldn't adhere to her scope and scale. Over the next 3 days, Warner Brothers, Universal, and Rowling boarded themselves up in a hotel. They went back and forth between rooms and ideas. At the end of the 3 days, Rowling wasn't completely happy still. Stores were simply too big, walkways too wide, and co-products could still not be sold. But in a stark contrast to Disney, Universal said, "We can change that." That simple bend in to her creative control was the beginning of the end for Disney. Rowling went back to Disney stating, "This is what Universal is going to give me. What are you going to do?" Disney reworked their idea. What they offered was a small, separately gated mini park that would go north of the Contemporary. But it was too late. By now, Bob Iger was running the business after Michael Eisner. He had soured on the Harry Potter franchise and J.K. Rowling herself. With this, he broke the letter of intent in December of 2005, focusing all efforts on his acquisition of Pixar. On May 31st, 2007, it was official. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter was coming to the Universal Orlando Resort. Universal had secured the rights by giving J.K. Rowling anything and everything she asked for. On the side, they were also slipping Warner Brothers money for the iconic visual representations of locations from the films. Their original ideas for a light re-theme of parts of Islands of Adventure became grander and grander, and well, we all know what happened next. After a few years of construction, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter would open in June of 2010 at Universal's Islands of Adventure. It would change theme parks forever. Opening to rave reviews, critics and fans alike praised the immersive atmosphere. It made it feel like you were stepping into the movies. That's not to mention the insane high-tech attraction that was Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. The park would see an immediate 28% attendance increase the year it opened. The year after, it climbed another 28%. In just 2 years, Islands of Adventure went from welcoming around 6 million guests per year to roughly 9 million, all thanks to Harry Potter. Down the road, the opening of the Wizarding World led to the only year-on-year attendance dip at Walt Disney World ever, except for a certain world-altering pandemic. Leaving Disney looking on in jealousy, they could have had that franchise to themselves, and the millions of dollars worth of butterbeer sold every year. Harry Potter turned Universal Orlando into a must-visit destination. They quickly began planning expansions for the Wizarding World. 4 years later, Potter would invade the other park when Diagon Alley opened at Universal Studios Florida. Today, all but one Universal park contains a Wizarding World land, with Universal Singapore being the odd one out. It was clear that Universal was doing well with their new investment. The Wizarding World helped to put the spotlight on the Universal Orlando resort, but many guests were interested in how Walt Disney World would respond. Rumors were flying around about a huge pirate retheme of Adventureland. Others mention a massive new Pixar land for Hollywood studios. But their immediate solution? Do nothing. It was clear that Disney was aware of the Wizarding World, but their initial response was to wait things out and see what happened. In fairness, they had what they believed to be the upper hand. With 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, an established transportation network that rivals some cities, downtown Disney, and dozens of resorts, Disney could comfortably rely on their established resort experience to keep guests from visiting Universal. Essentially, they wanted to trap guests on their land, making it uneconomical to visit other properties. This led to promotions such as Magic Your Way. This made 10 days worth of park tickets at the Walt Disney World Resort cost only $25 more than 3 days worth of tickets. They thought many guests would opt in to stay longer rather than fork out the additional cost to go elsewhere, and despite guests believing that they're saving, Disney could still reap the benefits of them needing to buy food and merchandise during their visit. On top of that, their thinking became almost parasitic. They believed that the Wizarding World of Harry Potter would bring more tourists to Central Florida that wouldn't otherwise have visited, and they themselves could capitalize on the craze by people coming down to Walt Disney World. This would prove to be another costly mistake. The year that the Wizarding World opened, Disney saw a dip in attendance, and reporting would suggest that people were actually taking time out of their Disney trips to visit Universal. With Universal taking this valuable market share, they needed a solution. They needed one fast. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter can be considered the first fully immersive land based on a singular intellectual property, even if you claim this is Bugs Land erasure. Disney couldn't ignore the success of this idea, so they turned to their own catalogue of franchises to devise a solution. This led to the creation of Cars Land, Pandora, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Avengers Campus, and the upcoming lands of Frozen around the world. Each has been received with varying degrees of success, but none have come anywhere close to capturing the same magic of the Wizarding World. One can't overstate how different the theme park landscape would be if Disney's Harry Potter land and attractions were built. Universal Orlando would be completely different and maybe even a struggling resort. Disney World may never have gotten Pandora the World of Avatar or Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And when Disney had their opportunity to secure Harry Potter, it was a tumultuous time for the company. Leadership had shifted from Michael Eisner to Bob Iger. Their theme parks in Paris, Hong Kong, and California will all experience a myriad of issues. It's entirely possible that Disney could have received the rights and simply put them on the shelf, leaving our world and the Wizarding World separated indefinitely. But that's not this story. This is the story where Universal won. For all things theme parks, I'm Dom for ReviewTyme. Thanks for watching, liking, and hopefully subscribing.